Very good evening to everyone at the sound of my voice. This is Dr. Sbu Kumalo with a very important message I'd like to share with you. Listen, before we start, you know the drill. You know how everything gets to start. So please, wherever you are, wherever you may be from, wherever you're listening to this, say it with me. It is possible. Possibility is the engine that drives faith. Remember this, I'm going to say it again. Possibility is the engine that drives faith. We had a bit of a technical issue for almost 50 minutes, and I had to be pushed to be reminded that life is based on principles. Life is not based on feelings. Life is not based on whether or not your feelings are intuitive or not. Life is based on principles. And one of the principles I live by is that delay does not equate to denial, right? Write that down, tweet it, text it, send it to someone and tell them, hey, delay does not equate to denial. So today, the message we want to talk about is all about personal development. And we want to talk about the 7 W's to personal growth. But before we get to the 7 W's of personal growth, I want to share with you the importance, or rather the difference between a law and a rule, right? Because many people have a misconception of the two, have a misunderstanding of the two. That when we speak about law, they misconceive that, they misunderstand that as being rules, and vice versa. What is a rule and what are laws? A rule is mankind. A rule can be bent. A rule is something you can work yourself, your way around and figure out how you become successful. As a matter of fact, anyone who becomes successful at one point or the other had to break the rules. I hope someone is listening to this. That somehow for someone to be successful, one way or the other, rules have got to be broken. But when we speak about laws, we speak about principles that govern our existence. I think that's the best way to explain it. That principle which govern our existence is exactly what we're talking about. So here on this platform today, we're going to be talking about not rules, but principles, laws by which your life need to be governed. If there's anyone who is successful today, trust me, they all hail and remove their head, raise their hands beyond their head, giving thanks to laws. At the same breath, if there's anyone who is not successful, who is failing and finding it hard to get by in their lives, not only are they laid on their bills, but they're laid on their dreams. Those are people who've let their guard down when it comes to laws. If you break a law, law will break you. But if you honor laws, laws will certainly abide to whatever you have at hand in order for you to be progressive. So today we're going to be speaking about the 7 W's. In fact, in my first book entitled The Power of Self-Government, I speak about the 5 W's. But I see that things are evolving. Life is changing. At a rapid stage, rapid pace, things are evolving every day. And I've discovered more and more ways to encourage people, and I've discovered the 7 W's on how you can leap from where you are to where you want to be. Now, truth of the matter be told, that everyone in life, I want you to hear this, everyone in life is involved in a race. We are all involved in a race. I remember when I was concluding my 3rd book, just to take a breather, I had to leave my place, my home, and go for a jog. I had worked the whole night, and I was rather getting excited on the conclusion part of my project, that I wanted to get a breather and come back and conclude, as it were. And I remember as I went out for a jog, I noticed at a particular time, most people were jogging that morning. Everyone was really busy that morning. I think it was a Thursday morning. And then I realized that many people, as though they are running, Everyone is running, but they're running for different reasons. I happened to really pause what I was doing and just study the atmosphere. And whilst I was looking at everyone running, I realized that those people who are running are all running for different reasons, though they're running. There are those running because they are late to work. There were those running because they are late to school. There were those running because it was their daily thing. It was their habit. Every morning they wake up and take a jog. And there are those running because a friend usually goes jog in the morning and they were just tagging along. And I wonder, there were those jogging because the doctor said, if you don't take care of your health, your heart will give you a problem. And I wonder if there were those who were jogging because the spouse said, honey, if you don't lose that belly, if you don't lose that weight, you and I are going to have a problem. You know what I'm talking about. So everyone was running, but now everyone was running for different reasons. In as much as they were running for different reasons, they were all running two directions. Because in life, if there's anything more certain than anything else, is that we are all running. But you're either running from or running towards. Wherever you may be as a business person, as an unemployed person trying to make ends meet, as a housewife or husband, whatever the case is, we are all running. But here's the matter: we are either running from or running towards. And now the problem I have with this perception in life is that those who keep running from will forever keep running. Have you ever found yourself in a dream where you keep running but you're not getting nowhere? That's the sense you get if your only direction towards life is only based on running from. But there is hope when we gauge our efforts, when we gauge our lives to run towards. Because when you're running towards, there's motivation in it. When we're running towards, there's aspiration to it. When we're running towards, there's goal-drivenness to it. There's this great excitement inside you that keeps reverberating every time, because the goal is yet to be, not what has already passed by or what has already gone by. We are focusing ahead. And it is a principle I've learned from one of the writers of the good book, the Bible, by the name of Paul. He said, if there's anything I do, I stretch towards the mark. If there's one thing I do, I forget what's behind, I forget what's on the side, I forget what happened, I forget who hurt me, I forget all the atrocities I've been before. But the only thing I do is to focus on what's ahead in order for me to be successful. So as I've laid down this message today, that everyone is running, and we are either running from or running towards, there are principles that will help us to succeed in our running towards. In this podcast today, we are not talking about people or to people who are running from, but we are talking to people who are running towards. What are you gunning for? What is it that in life you are hoping for? As a matter of fact, one of the principles we need to live by is called expectation. And every time we need to have something we are expecting. Do you have something you're expecting? If your answer is yes, that's a clear sign that not only are you running from, but you're running towards. As a matter of fact, you are not running from nothing, but you're running towards something. That's why you have this excitement. That's why you have this excitement burning within you, because you are expecting something to happen. And as we are expecting something to happen, there are principles I want to share with you that will guide, govern, and lead us to be successful. And I call them the 7 W's for personal growth. The first W, which I call a law, comes in the form of a question. That in life, wherever you may be, you need to ask yourself a question that says, who am I? Everyone who's made it in life has had to go through a phase which either they ask themselves who they are, or life had to ask them who they were. Now, if you are going to ask yourself who you are, it's understandable. It's quite governable, is quite manageable. But if you're going to let life ask you who you are, it's a painful experience. There's someone now in prison who's been asked by life, who are you? And the only place they could try to answer that is within the dungeons of a cell, without any freedom to see the light outside because of the choices they made, brimming from the knowledge they lack, and that is a knowledge of self. Who are you is the most important question. It is quite funny that even in my own practice, I would get people who are even over 40 years of age, over 50 years of age, which have come to a conclusion that yes, I've lived life for 40 years and above, but till today, I haven't pinpointed to a question that says, who am I? Now, there are three benefits of understanding. There are three benefits attached to the knowledge of self. Oh boy, you are going to love this. I'm talking about this, I'm having excitement running all over my body because the knowledge of knowing you encompasses three more accoutrements towards it that will lead you to be successful. The first benefit of knowing who you are is that when you know who you are, you equally know who you are not. Uma uzazi ukuthi uba wazi kahle hle ukuthi you are not this, you are not that. So when you know who you are, you know exactly what to do. You know exactly what not to do. You know exactly who to be with. You know exactly what to be with in order for you to be successful. So when you know yourself, you know exactly what you are not. And the second important benefit of knowing who you are is that when you know yourself, you know your capabilities. You know how far you can go. And I've grown to learn in life that if you want to be an acquaintance or a friend of mine, you should refrain from telling me I can't do anything. Umufuna uba yisitha saka Dr. Khumalo, always come and tell me I can't do something. I'm unable to do that. You're definitely going to be an enemy. Because I'm a firm believer that there's nothing impossible as long as you set your mind to it. So when you know who you are, number one, you know what you are not. Number two, when you know who you are, you know your capabilities, you know you can do it. You know if you put your mind into something, you can definitely succeed. As a matter of fact, by the end of this message, by the end of this podcast, most of you are going to be challenged to go to a dustbin of life. Because most of you have thrown away your first dream, your initial aspirations, your initial ambitions, only because you were told and taught you cannot do something. But as a result of knowing who you are, you can go back, dust the dust off your dreams, shake the dust off your ambitions, and get to a place where you can own what you want. You can be what you want. You can have and become who you want to be. Now, the third benefit of knowing who you are is that when you know who you are, you know how far you can go. You become unlimited. You become unstoppable. You become one who is like a Ferrari without no brakes. Oh, you feel what I'm telling you right now. You become a Ferrari, a Lamborghini without no brakes because you know once you set your foot on the gas, there's no way no one can stop you because you're certain in your heart and in your mind that as a result of knowing who you are, you can go as far as you want. As a matter of fact, let me break this down by saying this. Your ambitions are equal to your worth. Your ambitions are equal to your worth. So whatever and however you see yourself, it's as much as you're going to dream about yourself, as you're going to be ambitious about yourself. So that is why if you are at level 0, you don't confirm yourself as a level 0. And when you are at level 0, you dream yourself as a 0,1. Because where there is progress, there's huge amount of motivation. And where there's motivation, there's a good instinct to start. And when you start, you can see the end because we honor the beginning as we go towards the end. Are you loving this? The second W, which is a principle I would like to share with you, comes also by a question that says, where are you from? What is your source? When things go bad, what do you do to retain yourself, to retain your strength in moving forward in order for you to be successful? I remember there's a gentleman by the name of Nick Vujicic. Nick Vujicic was born without limbs, born without arms, born without legs. And at one point, because he didn't understand who he is, he wanted to drown himself in a bathtub. He wanted to throw himself in the lake. He just wanted to end his life because he didn't know where he was from as a result of not knowing who he is. Because see how these things interlinked. When you know where you're from, it's simply because you understand who you are. Oh, there's a beautiful song by Thandiswa Mazwai that says, Khumbula ubani zalwa ngobani. Because when you know about uzalwa ngobani, at least you have an idea. Ukuthi laba bakuzele, build who you are. And there's more potential inside you for you to be progressive and successful. Understand the second principle towards personal development. Where are you from? What is your source? What is your source? Leads us to the third important W, which is a principle also in the form of a question that says, why am I here? Why am I here is a question about purpose. It's a question about why do you need to suck up the air every single day? I love it in the Golden Book when it speaks about the parable of the garden, that the owner would traditionally go to the garden to see how things are working in the garden. And if the owner of the garden would find a tree that could not bear fruits, he would chop it off, cut it out, plug it out of the garden with the only simple reason that says, why have a tree that can't bear fruits? It is only wasting the soil. So when you don't understand who you are, when you don't understand where you are from, and you haven't gotten the idea of why are you here, chances are you are just existing. Awukaphili. You haven't lived yet. And there are many people, currently we're looking at 2.8 billion human beings living on planet Earth. And a huge majority of them labeled under average people have no idea why they are here. Let me just pause and take a moment to talk to all the church clergies. Abazalwane. Most of the times whenever we hear the word ministry, we become shocked, we become amazed, we become amused, we become afraid, we become baffled and left without no words, because we think that is only for the elite. We think that is only for them standing behind the pulpit. As a matter of fact, the word ministry is derived from the term administration. And when we speak about administration, we speak about finding a problem to solve. You hear where I'm going, right? Finding a problem to solve. Until you find a problem to solve, you will not understand your why in this life. Until you find a problem to solve, you will not understand the reason why you need to wake up 4 a.m. in the morning and go to bed 11 o'clock at night. If you don't find your why, you'll still be you'll still be stuck in a four-corner, four-walled office and not having the experience of how the wild is, of how the concrete jungle of what the concrete jungle can offer you, because you lack the why in life. You need to understand fairly early, if possible, your why. Why are you here? What is your purpose being here? We are now in the youth month, about to close the youth month, and I'm wondering, much more than what government can offer, what do you know about yourself as your purpose? Have you found a problem to solve? Look at the top 10 companies we have in the entire world. All of them are solving problems. Mark Zuckerberg solved a college problem in terms of communicating with each other. Now has become a global phenomenon. Just by solving a problem, he's making millions every day. Could it be that your suffering does not equate the absence of a God, but equates the absence of the reason why you're here? Could it be that whatever you're going through really stresses on the matter of you not knowing why you're here, and that's why you happen to go through what you're going through? So when you understand your why, life makes sense. Oh gosh, I don't know how much I can stress this point. When you understand your why, you know how to spend your money well. When you understand your why, you know alcohol can't do it for you. Your dreams are way too big to be stuck on alcohol, to be stuck on pornography, to be stuck on bad company, to be stuck on company which is going nowhere. When you know your why dictates your life every day. Your life tells you, your why tells you how to play out your life, because you are living a regimented life for a glorious end. The fourth W as you go by is the W also by a form of a question that says, what can I do? What is your capability? What is your capability? And let me ask South Africa as a whole, until when will your arms be stretched out to receive handouts in the absence of hand-ups? Until when will it be that yourself leading to the next generation, you only believe on what others can do for you? Have you ever thought about what you can do for yourself? Have you ever thought about what you are capable of building, or what you are capable of erecting? Sometimes we glorify people out of our own state, but look at people who've made it in our own state. People who've done it big, great in our own country. We do have a number of them who didn't look at who brings what, who is going to save me from this, but they accounted for themselves to look at themselves and say, I can make it. I can do it. I can build this company. I can build that organization. I can build my family to the toppest notch. Whatever it is that you set your mind to. The Bible says, whatever you find, whatever your hands find to do, do it with all your mind. And that's where the secret of understanding the fourth principle by the form of a question that says, what can I do? What can you do? What capabilities? I know you hate waking up Monday morning to go to work. And trust me, it has nothing to do with Monday. I know it has nothing to do with Monday, but it probably has more to do with the job that you're making, the job that you're doing. Maybe you see yourself not cut out for this simply because down in your heart you have this burning desire of a great wild, of a great success. I remember when I started my career, I listened to one message that kind of depicted a picture of where I was at that particular point. I ended up picturing myself as a lion playing circus. But deep down inside, there was this desire to be in the wild, to figure things out for myself. And the day I discovered that there's this greatness inside me, I had to make tough decisions. I had to make really, really uncomfortable decisions to come out of what I considered a comfortable zone, a comfort zone at that time, for me to be in the wilderness, in the wild, to fight for this greatness in order for it to come to fruition. So could it be that sometimes our struggle is very much linked to a comfort zone? Whilst in effect we need to embrace discomfort in order for us to be progressive, in order for us to be successful. The fifth W on how to develop yourself in difficult times, personal development, is a question, a principle in the form of a question that says, where are you going? Have you mapped out your way to become successful? Have you mapped out your way to be progressive? I want to say this to all the leaders listening to me now. Wherever you may be from, maybe leading in a church space, you may be leading in the corporate, you may be leading in your own family or leading in a relationship, whichever leadership role you've undertaken. I want to tell you this. When you and I were born as leaders, we did not inherit the earth, but we borrowed the earth from our children. Right? That is their philosophical understanding of a leader. That yours and mine is not to inherit the earth and just leave it as is. But yours and mine is to be born into this world, having borrowed it from our children for the main fact of living it better. Not easy, but better for those coming after us. So the fifth principle under the question called why, where are we going, emphasizes the point that where you are headed in life needs to develop an answer to a question those coming after you are asking. Develop an answer for those coming after you so they can figure it out. Leave this place better than you found it. I believed it when Dr. Miles Monroe spoke about a graveside, a cemetery, that there are two types of graves stuck in the graveside. That the first type of a grave is a poor grave. And then there's a rich grave. And you're probably thinking to yourself, Smoo, what are you talking about? What is a rich grave? What is a poor grave? This is going to shock many of you. A rich grave is not that grave with a beautiful tombstone. A rich grave is not that grave with marble or gold-coated gates. A rich grave is a grave of a person who died with potential still stuck up inside them. A rich grave is a grave of someone who passed on, who had a song, but no one ever heard the song. Who had a poem stuck inside them, but they never had the chance for them to recite the poem. Who had an organization stuck up inside which will liberate many people, but went to the grave with that richness inside. A rich grave is a grave of a dream that died as a dream. A seed that died as a seed. But a poor grave, on the contrary, is a grave of those who gave everything. So wherever you are listening to this now, I want you to type on the comment section, tell someone viewing this alongside you, or someone who's going to view it later on, tell them not to die with their gift inside. Tell them not to die with the stuff stuck up inside them. If there is any time proper for you to unveil, for you to relinquish, for you to give out what's been deposited inside you, it has got to be now and now. So the fifth question comes and rocks up with you saying, where are you going with this thing called life? Understand the importance of all of those. The sixth W is the sixth principle. That as much as you're forging your way towards where you're going, have the principle of weighing out. 6W say, weigh yourself off. Scarcity mindset. Remove scarcity from your relationships. Remove scarcity from your thinking pattern. Remove scarcity from your environment. Because the most frustrating thing is to have a growth mindset, but you're stuck in a scarcity environment. You will never grow. I remember with the Great Fall, I think it's 1998. Right after the Great Fall, people were picking up the pieces in the economical space, wanting to make ends meet, and few of those that have made it after the great fall and has made it to the big corners in the offices, big corners in the big office corners in the building. What they would do is they would bring an aquarium in the building, in the office. Yeah, a fish tank. They'll put a fish tank in the office. And you would think that maybe since they are millionaires, multi-millionaires, they will bring exotic fish inside the tank. No. What they would bring is a baby shark inside the tank. A baby shark inside the tank. And people would be asking, why not put a fish for decoration? Why do you put a shark inside? And for those really coming out of the recession, that would say, reason why we put a shark inside is to remind us that we are hunters every day. That if we don't hunt, we'll end up being a prey. But one of those clergies happened to have this notion around the issue of having an aquarium inside, because an aquarium could be as big as 2 meters long and 1 meter wide. But the trick was the shark could not grow more than its environment. I'm going somewhere. They would have that shark tank for as much as they want, but the shark would not grow more than the size of its environment. So for those who kept the shark for 2 years and would only grow less than 2 meters, would take the very same shark, throw it into the ocean, and the very same shark in 6 months will grow 9 meters long. Why? Because a growth mindset cannot function in a scarcity environment. Are you hearing what I'm talking about? You can elite yourself as one of the great thinkers. You can elite yourself as one of the great performers. But if your performance, if your mindset, which is fixed on growth, is pretty much in a scarcity mindset, you are not going to be. The number one frustrating factor in life is having a growth mindset, but scarcity relationships. Scarcity in marriage, scarcity in friendships, scarcity in business, scarcity in environment. Rather move from where you are to where there's blissful, bountiful of opportunities so you can utilize the mindset for you to have. So the 6W says, weigh yourself off, dust yourself off everything that talks scarcity in your life. If you have relationships that talk scarcity, cut them off. Last time we were talking about preparing for greatness. And one of the tools we use to prepare is to cut thinly in order for you to be progressive in this thing called life. Are you willing to make those relevant sacrifices? Are you willing to shed off the dead weight in order for you to be successful? That leads us to the 7th W, the 7th principle of personal development, and that says willingness leads to execution. Oh, you have got to be willing. Life doesn't happen by chance. Life happens by choice. And one of the choices we need to hope through in order for us to make it in life, you have got to be willing. If you're in a relationship with someone, and like any other relationship, you will incur problems. You will have struggles within the relationship. Your intention in building the relationship speaks more than the language of love itself. Why? Because of the willingness that drives the conversation. Are you willing to stick it up until the end? Are you willing to hold your peace until the end? Are you willing to make tough decisions? Because life can cause you to make those tough decisions. Life calls us to make those tough decisions. Listen, whether you make a tough decision or you don't, both have made tough decisions. By not making a tough decision, you've already made a tough decision. So might as well make a tough decision to be willing to pull it off in order for you to be successful. Willingness is the key. Willingness drives the intentions for everything. I wonder if you had the willingness from the beginning, where will you be today? I wonder how far would you have gone with your career have you had the drivenness called willingness. I wonder how far would have gone with your marriage had you had the willingness to fight to make it work, not to fight to prove a point. Because most of you are messing up in your relationships. Because all you do is to fight to prove a point. You're not fighting to making it work. Willingness drives the conversation. Are you willing to make it happen? The greatest leader of them all, with sweat pouring out like blood from his paws, prayed and said, Father, take away this cup. But let this not be my will, let it be your will, let your will be done, not mine. The issue of willingness goes a mile. It really goes a mile. I'm willing to make this happen. When the good book speaks about this is the day that the Lord has made, and I will. That's where the substratum of the verse is the willingness. The powerful statement of that verse is not the God who made the day, is not the it that made it possible, but is the willingness to drive the occasion, the willingness to drive all of that. You've been stretched in your workplace. Do you have the willingness to grow under that stretch? Understand the importance of the growth in order for you to be successful. For those who just tuned in, let me just recap on the 7 W's, which I call them the 7 W principle for growth. Law number 1 is who am I? Law number 2 is where am I from? Law number 3 is why am I here? Law number 4 is what can I do? Law number 5 is where am I going? Law number 6 is wait yourself off the scarcity energy. Law number 7 is the willingness to make it happen, because if you can will it, oh, you can make it. Oh, come on, type this somewhere. Type it on the comment section. Send your person, send someone you love this text. Tell them, baby, if you can will it, you can make it. Doesn't matter how high the mountain is. If you can will it, you can make it. Doesn't matter how red your financial life is. If you will it, you can make it. Doesn't matter how much of in a dungeon your relationship can be. If you will it, you definitely can make it. So here the 7 principles we've set before you. It is only for you to lift up your head, pump up your chest, weigh your shoulders, and make sure you soldier on and make it. Because remember, this is the genesis for possibility, the uncut version of the podcast to make sure you make it happen. And let me close it by this. If no one ever told you today, the 20th of June, that they love you and believe you enough to make it happen for you to grow, I want you to know that I love you, that we love you here in the studio. But guess what? Until we love you and you believe in you enough, chances are you may see it, you probably won't have it. This is Dr. Sbu Kumalo here to say the 7 W's of personal development. Catch us next week on Wednesday. Wednesday, same time, 7 p.m., we'll be talking about the 7 powerful laws of discipline. Oh boy, I've been working as a motivational speaker for the past 17 years. 17 years. But I'm also an advocate that says motivation is not everything. Yep, I said it. Motivation is not everything. Motivation is good to get started. But you need 7 more other layers, 7 more other principles aligning with discipline in order for you to make it. From ourselves, the uncut. May God bless you and keep yourself well.